What does The Exorcist, Scream, and Fatal Attraction have in common? All of them share a pattern, called monster in the house. Today in C Cinema we are looking at this principle and applying it to Ridley Scott's Alien. The monster in the house principle is the way script doctor and writer Blake Snyder calls certain films that have three main characteristics. First, we need the house, a particular place where we'll find a specific group of people. Quoting Snyder's book, Save the Cat, the house must be a confined space, a beach town, a spaceship, a futuristic Disneyland with dinosaurs, a family unit. In The Exorcist we have both the house of the McNeils and the city of Georgetown as places of confinement. In Scream, it's the little town of Woodsboro, and the small group of Sidney's friends and the aura of mistrust. And in Fatal Attraction is the family unit stated by Snyder. As you can probably guess, the second element is the monster. This is the villain of the story. The monster could be a supernatural creature, like in The Exorcist. Also, it could be a serial killer monster, like Ghostface in Scream, creating both a sense of dread as well as a mystery case, as the characters try to uncover the secret behind this creature. Finally, there's the domestic monster, which we can clearly see in Glenn Close's character in Fatal Attraction. While less physically intimidating, the actions of this kind of monster can be the most unnerving due to the realistic approach. While they seem like everyday common people, they hide a sinister side. Okay, we have the protagonists, the house, and the scary monster that terrorizes them there. Yet, we are missing a crucial third element to the mix, the one that fully connects the house with the monster. We are referring to the sin. Quoting Snyder, there must be sin committed, usually greed, monetary or carnal, prompting the creation of a monster that comes like an avenging angel to kill those who have committed that sin and spare those who realize what that sin is. We love this paragraph because there's simply a lot to unpack. First, it's the characters that ring the veil of the monster by committing a sin or making a deadly mistake. The protagonists of these stories are responsible for indirectly summoning evil. In The Exorcist, both the lack of faith of Father Karras and Chris McNeil's disregard for her family in favor of her career call the devil to action. In Scream, it's Sidney's family past, and both the typical lust of the teenage slasher movies and the ironical lust that drives the killer's actions. Something similar happens in Fatal Attraction, as Gallagher's lusty actions turn Forrest from a lovely woman into a bunny boiling maniac. Snyder's depiction of the monster as an avenging angel that kills or spares accordingly is quite accurate, as its mission is to show the characters their wrongdoing. What's interesting is that they must mend their sin in some way in order to survive. If they keep mistaking, or if they simply ignore the situation, they won't last till the end credits. The characters have to confront their actions. McNeil gives up the movie she's starring, Karras must perform the exorcism despite doubting. Sidney confronts the killer's identity and her secret past, and Gallagher confesses his affair to his wife. Okay, we have seen how these three different films share the three mentioned elements. Now, let's get to Alien and see why Ridley Scott's picture is a great example of the monster in the house principle. In the first scene, we are introduced to the Nostromo spaceship. This is the house. We get to know the interior of the ship through slow tracking shots of the dark and gloomy corridors. This slow movement creates a sense that something is lurking in the shadows. Then, a big contrast is presented as we go from the dark corridors to the shiny and white hibernation chamber where we meet the sleeping crew. Right from the start, the spaceship is presented as a dangerous place for the sleepy and unaware characters. The decision to show them right out of bed is a strategy to present them as helpless, as we often are when we just wake up. Of course, they'll be helpless throughout the whole movie. Also, a central opposition between the colors black and white is introduced. We'll get back to this later. The house has been established. The monster can be easily spotted. We are talking about the iconic Xenomorph. This creature gets into the house, a spaceship, because of the character's sins. On one hand, we have the greed of the crew, as they accept to step outside to the mysterious and deadly planet because they could lose their pay. On the other hand, we have another type of sin that's central to establish the film's theme and to fully distinguish the arc of the protagonist, Ellen Ripley. During the first half hour, Ripley is not explicitly the protagonist of the film, she is one more of the crew. Her first important action is her sin, when she denies her teammates the entrance to the ship. Despite being somewhat right in arguing that they represent a security risk, her prohibition can be seen as extreme and inhumane. Her lack of compassion is her sin, and this action establishes the theme of the film: humanity versus inhumanity. The way Ripley denies the entrance is devoid from emotion.
Yes, I read you. The answer is negative.
With that code negative, she is avoiding the most basic human empathy. Curiously, the apparently humane action is conducted by the cyborg Ash, who disobeys Ripley and opens the door, letting them and the monster in. At that moment of the film, the human has a robotic response, while the inhuman android is the compassionate one. In order to mend her sin and save her life, Ripley will need to be compassionate. There are two scenes crucial to this character in which she'll prove her sympathy. One is when she sacrifices her boss Dallas at his request. If at first she was willing to let him outside to perish, now, in a radical turn of events, her most humane action is to free him from the monster's hold by incinerating him. The other scene crucial to her arc is when she puts her life at risk to save the house spaceship's pet, Jones the cat. This selfless action shows her kindness and helps her mend her initial sin. Fun fact: Snyder's book, Save the Cat, is named after Ripley's action. Snyder says that the moment in which Ripley selflessly rescues the kitten, the audience takes her side, wishing she makes it out of there alive. Apart from Ripley's character development, the theme humanity versus inhumanity is also represented by the xenomorph. The monster has a human-like form, with 2 legs, 2 arms, and a bizarre helmet-shaped head. It is a nightmarish monster, a dark depiction of the human being that only serves to kill. The all-black body of the creature presents a clear contrast with the all-white astronaut costume Ripley uses at the end. This is the final confrontation between white and black, which also symbolizes the confrontation between a kind human and a vicious inhuman monster. Well, we have identified how the house, the monster, and the sin and its redemption appear in Alien. Also, we have presented the character arc of Ripley and the development of the main theme of the film. Now, we'd like to tell you about the fourth element that can be seen frequently in the Monster in the House movies: the Half-Man. The term refers to a character that is either a survivor who ran into the monster before, or someone that has an expert knowledge on the evil they are facing. Sadly for the Half-Man, they often don't make it to the end of the film, as they perish before the final confrontation to raise the stakes of the story. In Jaws, the Half-Man is the shark fisherman Quint. In The Exorcist, it is Father Merrin. And in Alien, Ash is the Half-Man, who is literally an incomplete man being a cyborg. This character is crucial, as he is the second antagonist of the film. At first, he seems to be kind by letting his partners in. Nonetheless, we'll find out that the inhumanity of the monster also plays to him, as he is a sort of a stowaway in the ship by hiding his identity and intentions. His actions are the most inhumane of all, as he considers all the crew to be expendable in the search of his goal. To further explain the symmetries between the xenomorph and Ash, Scott shots the birth of the first one and the termination of the second one in a similar fashion, with an abundance of red and white fluids and body horror, which sadly we can't show you here without filters, but you get the idea. As we have seen, despite having just 3 or 4 elements, the Monster in the House story can take many forms. Moreover, we can see an example in the mythical story of the Minotaur, in which Theseus must venture into a gloomy labyrinth in order to fight the monster. If something this principle has shown us is that story archetypes are everlasting and continue to entertain us to this very day. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Feel free to tell us in the comments what other Monster in the House movies can you think of. Bye!
If you like the video, please comment, like and subscribe.